Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. My name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Welcome back if you are a returning viewer, a returning subscriber. Hi. And welcome as well if you're new here. So we're going to be talking about the new moon, the upcoming new moon in the sign of Aquarius on the 9th of February. I see here Bianca. Hello to you, Bianca. You say you have Saturn in the sign of Aquarius at 17 degrees. So, yes, the new moon is going to be quite close to your natal Saturn. I have in my chart, I've got the sun in Aquarius at 19 degrees. So, this new moon is going to conjunct my natal sun. Right, so let's get into this. Let's explore this upcoming new moon. There's a good bit of information to go through. Hi, Danielle. Hi, how are you? Hi, DQUINCE. Hi, hey. Welcome, everyone. How are we finding Aquarius season so far? How are we finding it? The sun's there, Pluto's there. We had the Sun-Pluto conjunction at the beginning of Aquarius season. So that was around the 20th of January. And then we're going to have Mercury enter Aquarius tomorrow, so the 5th of February, and then create a conjunction with Pluto. And then we're going to have Mars enter Aquarius throughout February. And then Venus will also enter Aquarius. And then Mars and Venus will both make those conjunctions with Pluto throughout February. So Aquarius season is pretty jam-packed, pretty exciting, pretty innovative. Expect the unexpected, much change, and new cycles, right? We've got new cycles beginning, especially at this 0 degree point. Quite potent, quite new, quite fresh. Okay, so before we do break things down, I just want to let you know of the products that I have available. So there are eBooks available for each of the seasons. I have cheat sheets available. They seem to be quite popular, actually, the cheat sheets, just saying. And then I actually have a guide to help you learn more about astrology, which is practical, by the way. And it goes through all of the different placements. Well, not all of them, but the traditional sort of ones based on the classical planets. And we also have the calendar available for 2024 and March. You can find some of these products on Etsy. And I just want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. And if you're interested in joining the Patreon, you can do so. All the links to all the things that I've brought up are in the description box down below. Some behind the scenes content is available actually over at the Patreon. One, which is the most recent, is looking at annual perfections. So looking at 0 to 4 years old and the importance of that. So just to let you know if you're interested. Thank you again to my patrons. Okay, so let's break this down, okay? Let's explore the astrology overall before we do get into your horoscopes. So what we see here is that this new moon is taking place at 20 degrees, and there's also a square occurring with Uranus. Plus, there is a sextile happening with the North Node and also Chiron. They're in Aries. Now, Chiron and the North Node are going to conjunct at 16 degrees from the 11th of February all the way through, I think, till the 25th of February, around that. But things are going to be extra potent down to the minute on the 19th of February. So do keep your eye out for those. There's more information about this conjunction over at the February horoscopes. So if you want your horoscopes for February, you can find more information there. And the other thing about this I want to mention is Venus and Mars will be in Capricorn, creating trines to Uranus. So we have, of course, a more challenging aspect between the Sun and Moon in Aquarius with Uranus, but then we have more of a gifted, talented, harmonious aspect with Venus and Mars in Capricorn making the trine to Uranus. So we're going to explore those. Plus, Jupiter is there in Taurus, making a sextile to Saturn. That's actually happening right now. How are we feeling about this? I feel like this is very holding energy, even though we're going to get into more sort of chaotic placements and tension and discord and all the rest of it. I feel like Saturn sextile Jupiter has really been quite grounding and supportive for many, quite holding, right? It's like a holding energy. We love to see it. Now, Neptune also creates a sextile to Mars. So Neptune is there at 26 degrees. Oh, we're getting closer to the 29-degree point. And then there's going to be a retrograde this year. But anyways, then we also see here that Venus is a part of this. So Neptune's also creating a sextile to Venus, but naturally the sextile between Mars and Neptune is much stronger. Now, Mercury is also creating a square to Jupiter, which we're going to get into. So they will square off during the new moon. And the other thing about it, of course, is Mercury and Pluto. So the conjunction between Mercury and Pluto is going to sort of ease a bit. It's going to abate. It's not going to be as intense as what it's going to be, tomorrow on the 5th. But there's still going to be some leftovers, let's just say, leftover energy. And I think as well, this highlights just how much social change is going to be on our minds during the new moon. But you see, Pallas is also going to make a sextile to Pluto, which I think is quite interesting. So we're going to explore that. Plus, Vesta is creating a trine to the new moon. Of course, Vesta turns direct on the 8th of February. And so we're moving forward when it comes to intellectual matters here, educational matters. Of course, Vesta looks at our eternal flame and protection and keeping that safe. So wherever Vesta is, it sort of points toward that protection and that safety. And in Gemini, then this is related to the mind. This is related to conversation, socializing, connecting, this type of stuff. And lastly, we've got Juno retrograde, which is making a trine to Venus. Juno is in Virgo. And with it being retrograde, okay, yeah, there's some reassessing going on. It's still about, okay, let's take a closer look. Let's take a closer look at commitments and meaningful relationships, especially through a lens of practical means, practical measures. But the last thing I want to mention with this is notice here how Juno retrograde is also making a trine to Uranus, right? And at the same time, they're both making a trine to Venus. So there is a bit of a grand Earth trine happening during this new moon. And because Venus and Juno are a part of this, right? You think about Venus. Venus is known as, well, Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. And then we have Juno, aka Hera, the queen of the gods, so to speak, because Hera was married to Zeus, right? And so there is a strong sense of commitment here, and more so looking at our relationships through a very specific, mature, responsible lens, but at the same time being rather surprised by the unexpected. So yeah, there could be some exciting experiences coming up here within our relationships. But of course, the other thing about this is you got to consider your own chart. You got to consider where these signs are within your chart. Okay, so look for those earth signs to see how these energies will play out for you. Of course, with the grand earth trine happening, this is quite a Jupiter quality, if you will. Okay, so there's enhancement, talent, gifts being ushered in. Again, look to the earth signs, and naturally, as always, do always consider your chart, your unique chart, to see how things do play out for you. And I just say that overall when exploring the astrology. Okay, so Bianca said, exciting, your sun is there as well. Oh, you have your sun in Aquarius as well. Ooh, interesting. It's quite exciting for Aquarians, I think. And we have here Save Rock and Roll. Hi, hello, welcome. Yes, welcome everyone. I hope that you enjoy this presentation today. So let's address further by just going over some details. Now, the moon is happening at 20 degrees, and this equates to the number 2 in numerology. And this is also happening within the Aquarius Libra decan. So we are noticing these themes to do with union, right? See, the number 2 in numerology can look at harmony and support and cooperation, agreements, balance. And so, with that in mind, you think about Libra. Libra is, of course, this sign tied to relationships and partnership and beauty. And so, we are noticing more of this team effort. Okay, Aquarius within itself is this sign to do with the collective, isn't it? So it is about seeing, okay, well, how are we collaborating together? What do you bring to the table? What do other people bring to the table? What's your unique sort of experience? What's your unique qualities that you're putting forth? So yeah, I think this is very much a new moon of community and teamwork and building together and trying to come from a place of, unifying, and that within itself equates to or can equivalent to such change, right? We think about Aquarius as the sign tied to social change, but of course, social change requires people. It requires other people contributing and, for example, putting their name on that agreement or that petition. You think about a petition that goes forward so that new legislations can be made or so that change can be made. You need support, right? You need other people to be on board with whatever it is. And so this, I think, is a new moon that's going to usher in these changes. And I mean this on a demographic level, I mean this on an environmental level, an economic level, politically as well. We're seeing these themes come up. You think about, for instance, the farmers in the EU. They're all banding together, right? It's this whole thing of like strength in numbers. They're all banding together because they do not agree with the changes that are trying to be imposed onto them. So it's like you push back against that. So this is what I'm trying to say is that we're seeing these things, right? We're seeing people pushing back against authority. We're seeing people rising up already. Even in Northern Ireland, there have been strikes occurring, okay, within the public sector. We think about nurses and teachers and bus drivers and everything coming together. They're banding together to stand for something better, okay, because they want better pay. They want to be treated better, right? So this is what we're noticing with this new moon. And the other thing I want to say with this is the number 2 is a Taurus degree. So that Taurus degree energy, Taurus is what? It's holding, it's secure. We further see this again pointing toward that Jupiter sextile Saturn energy. It's like holding something in place. And this is also about, I know my values, I know my worth, I know what I stand for. Aquarius, see, is such a sign of conviction. Now, the thing that I quite like about Aquarius is no matter how outlandish the views of Aquarius is or are, their views are, they still have conviction. It's still like, no, this is still what I think. This is still what I stand for. But you have to kind of think about this energy within the collective, right? You kind of think about how all of the signs are essentially these archetypes which play out within reality. They play out within the real world. So I can sort of imagine this as, for instance, people who are on strike or people who are protesting. What are they doing? They're banding together and they're standing for truth. They're standing for justice. They're standing for freedom. And there's this whole thing of we will not back down from this, right? Taurus. Okay, Taurus the bull. It's like I'm here and I'm not gonna move. Taurus can be such an immovable energy. But again, a lot of this is what is ushering in the change. Now, just a reminder, new moons are tied to fresh starts, fresh perspectives. New moons usher in new beginnings and we set new intentions, we plant new seeds. So it's a really useful time during the new moon to really go inward and to reflect and kind of think, well, what is it I would like to change within my Aquarius house? How would I like to innovate within my Aquarius house? And this is the beginning of something very new because at the same time, like I said, the Mercury Pluto conjunction occurs on the 5th, and then we have the Pluto Mars conjunction, which will happen throughout February, and then we'll have finally the Venus Pluto conjunction. So these are activation points, but this new moon is also an activation point. So I think it is a good idea to really reflect and to consider, right, how would I like to progress forward? Is there anything I would like to change within my environment, within my everyday? How would I like to impact the world? And what types of communities and teams and groups do I want to be a part of? Who do I resonate with? You think about Aquarius is very much about like-minded, right? Being like-minded. So who do we align with in terms of like minds? But at the same time, I think that there's so much here about seeing the underlying themes here, seeing, for instance, where we're polarized within society, because this is what we are noticing, right? And I think Pluto in Aquarius is going to show us, it's going to hold up this huge like mirror, right? So the shadow, the unconscious, the collective unconscious, hidden drives, hidden motivations. This can also be quite compulsive energy. But yeah, I think that this is about us seeing where are we extreme? Where can we be fanatical? Even with that Mercury Pluto energy, we could see this. We could see this sort of fanatical, extreme mindset. But at the same time, seeing such mindsets being exposed, the truth will be revealed. The truth is revealed when it comes to Pluto. So do keep that in mind whenever these activations are happening. Okay, so the polarizing sort of back and forth, left and right, I think that's going to be highlighted over the next 20 years or so. And I think with that, we're going to see transformations. We're going to see renewals. And I think a lot of it has to do with us making our own decisions. I think a lot of this Aquarius energy has to do with free thought, independent views, challenging opinions, but also, what do you think? What are your opinions? But it's also seeing how those opinions are backed up by research and valid sort of information, because that's the thing as well with social media and with the way technology is starting to shift and change so rapidly. We're going to see this with the accelerations here. A lot of misinformation is out there, right? So I think this Pluto energy is like discernment, and seeing what's beneath the surface. Okay, Pluto is very much that energy of, while something is being presented outwardly like this, like, hey, there's another hand down below, and there's something going on secretly. So it's sort of trying to feel into those undertones. Aquarius within itself, which I think is often not really talked about a lot, is, Aquarius is very much about vibrations, right? I really think of, the wave, the glyph. You notice that, like, it looks like a wave, right? That wave, of course, can be water, but that wave can also be electricity. It's like an electrical current. But that wave, if you think, is like a frequency, and that frequency is found in music. Well, not just music, but within all things. As they say, everything vibrates. That's the whole thing, I think, isn't that it? But the point being, there's such a connection that Aquarius has with music and vibration. And that, I think, is going to come up a lot. That is where I think a lot of society is going to wake up. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's the truth. That's what was missing. That is what was hidden. So yeah, bringing truth to light and really connecting to those things. And at the same time, kind of thinking, well, I know this now. I know this new information. And I can't unsee it. right? That's the thing about this awakener energy, right? Uranus is the awakener. Aquarius is known for like being the sign that it's like, oh wow, I that thing finally clicked in place. I had this aha moment, but you can't just ignore it. you can't just ignore it. So it should be interesting. It should be interesting to see how things do evolve, right? That's the other thing. Pluto, Aquarius energy, the blend, major evolutionary shifts up ahead for humanity. So all of this is to say that this is a new moon that's going to usher in these changes, but for you on a more personal level, just consider where Aquarius is in your chart. Last thing I want to say here before we move on to the next slide is the moon is actually going to be void of course. So from the new moon happening, and I think the new moon's happening later in the evening of the 9th of February. So this, I'm talking about Eastern Standard Time. I don't live in that area. I don't live on that time zone, but I read for that time zone because I just think that that's kind of like a happy medium. Anyway, later Eastern Standard Time. But from that point up until the moon enters Pisces on the 10th of February, the moon is going to be void of course. So my recommendation with this is during the new moon, it's like, yes, set new intentions, contemplate. And as I always like to say, I recommend journaling during new moons and full moons, even during last quarter moons, during first quarter moons. Yeah, journaling can be really, really useful. You can get a lot from it. So with that, just do your journaling. I would even recommend getting outside, going for a walk, talking with friends, maybe even if something does come up and there's a lot of fear. This is the thing. Pluto can highlight fears, and Mercury square Jupiter, which we're going to talk more about in a moment. Mercury square Jupiter can also indicate being overstimulated. It's like overstimulated by the chaos, by the ways of the world, okay, by the collective, by this certain thing over here and this certain thing over here. And oh my gosh, the world's falling apart and I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid, So the fears can come up, but I think that the moon here in this way is highlighting actually lean into that sort of Taurus energy. Of course, there's going to be a square to Uranus in Taurus, but lean into the Taurus energy and kind of remind yourself, and even lean into the Jupiter sextile Saturn energy and remind yourself that, you can slow down, try to slow down your thoughts. Our thoughts could very well accelerate, really accelerating. And that could be in a distressful way, in a disorientated, kind of disorganized way, like, oh my gosh, I'm just, it's too much. But this could also be in a pretty creative way, I gotta say, actually. If we were to look at this through a more sort of beneficial lens, this could be a new moon of, I'm telling you, the ideas, especially so tomorrow, the 5th, up until the new moon, this week, ideas are flowing. Streams of consciousness, cosmic downloads. Like, yes, I feel that. And it's not, this is the thing about the Aquarius energy. There's just certain words that, you're not even consciously thinking, and then it's boom. You'll be watching a television program or you'll be watching a YouTube video, and then you instantly get this boom, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is how this information connects into the other things that I've been learning about. And then that is so eye-opening. I'll give you an example. I watched the Netflix. There's a Netflix show called Alexander, the Making of a God, I think. So basically, it's the story of Alexander the Great's life. And I'm not going to get into everything in the documentary. Probably don't want to bore you if you're not interested. But my point being is that whenever I was watching that documentary, so many things were just going, oh my gosh, 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 that makes sense, I see that. So yeah, and a lot of it actually related back to astrology, because there was a scene in it actually where there was the battle between the Persians, and then I forget the proper name, the Greeks, I think it was the Greeks. Yeah, the Persians and then the Greeks. But there was an eclipse happening before the night before their battle, One side saw the eclipse in a certain way as like an omen, and then the other side saw the eclipse as a confirmation. And it just sort of made me go, of course, yes, back then, they looked to the stars. They followed their patterns and their cycles. They looked to the stars as these gods, right? Literally as gods. Anyway, exciting stuff. The point being, you could very well get these sort of hits of like inspiration and insight and curiosity this week. And I think that a lot of that will perhaps have something to say about the intentions we set during the new moon on the 9th of February. All right, so let's now move on. So, just to kind of walk you through this, the first quarter moon in Aquarius is going to be November 2024. So that's going to be on the 17th. Sorry, my mistake. It's going to be at 17 degrees. 17 degrees. So the intentions that we set during this new moon are going to be tested and they're going to be challenged. November 2024. But the thing about this is that we can become strengthened, right? This is an opportunity to overcome a challenge. Then there will be the full moon in Aquarius, August 2025, and that will also happen at 17 degrees. That will be a full moon of release. That will be a full moon of clarity and reaping rewards. So the intentions that we set on the 9th of February, just keep in mind that come August 2025, you could very well see the fruits of your labor or rewards coming based on the intentions that you set. And then there will be the third quarter moon, and that's going to happen in 2026. And that third quarter moon is going to be a period of adjustment. It's like, okay, what could you learn for next time? Or what did you learn from the experience? What could you maybe finish up? Are there any sort of loose ends that you want to tie up there? But essentially, what have you learned? What have you gained? What have you lost? What has the experience been like for you? And then you go through this different cycle moving forward. Now, 20 degrees here, when we think about 20 degrees, this is a Scorpio degree. Okay. And therefore, this is a new moon of focus. This is a new moon of empowerment. And like I said, this is about the future of mankind. This is about the future of humanity. This is a moon ushering in social change, which we will go through these periodic deaths and rebirths over the next 20 years. These falls, these rises, these changes, these transformations, matters to do with the economy, politics, culture, technology, the environment, demographics, so on and so forth. We are seeing how things have been accelerating already since Pluto entered Aquarius, right? We have the Vision Pro goggles that came out, I think, yesterday or something like that. They are on sale now to the general public. It's quite interesting because I'm pretty sure that when they were announced, Pluto was last in Aquarius. That was last year. I think it was around May 2023, June time, something like that. And so here we are, and Pluto is back in Aquarius, and they're on sale to the general public. And there's a lot of interesting opinions. That's the other thing. Aquarius welcomes opinion, and is a very opinionated sign. So there are many opinions about this new gadget, I suppose. But there's also a lot of opinions to do with transhumanism, thinking about the fusion of machine and human. We're going to notice this, I think, especially as Uranus enters Gemini. Uranus is going to enter Gemini toward the end of 2025, the middle, about that. But it will officially enter 2026, I believe. 2026 is going to be a really, really interesting year. I would say just keep your eyes peeled, because we are entering into a new paradigm, which is so fascinating to me because the astrology aligns with human design. I've noticed that within the human design community, they talk about this new paradigm, and naturally Uranus will be in Gemini, Neptune and Saturn will also move into Aries. We've got Pluto in Aquarius. I actually have a post about these shifts on my Instagram. I talked about the Neptune sub-generations, but Neptune and Pisces has actually been part of the generation Alpha, to be fair, with Pluto being in Capricorn, which I think is interesting because Neptune has been in Pisces for that long. But I digress. Yes, there are posts about the Neptune generations, which you can find, and I talk about these shifts. But the whole thing with transhumanism, I just think that this is looking at, the many conflicting views about transhumanism and the potential dangers, but also the potential benefits too. And the last thing I want to say with this, of course, is the whole thing of Elon Musk and implanting the brain chip into a human. I think that occurred when Pluto re-entered Aquarius there. And I think as well, there were trials that were being done the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. I could be wrong on that information. Now, with that even being said, this has been in the works, I think, for a long time, of course. Even I was seeing the virtual reality glasses. Apparently, virtual reality glasses came on the scene even in, I think, was the 60s, something like that. But basically, what I'm trying to get at is a long time ago. But we are then starting to see how things are going to, I think, progress and be pushed more, right? It's like perhaps virtual reality is going to be used more in everyday life. We could maybe see a greater push for these types of things when Uranus does enter Gemini. We will see. We will see. But my point being is it's interesting to see people's views. It is. And I have sort of talked about the sort of dark side of all of this, but could there be beneficial parts to this? Okay. Again, we will see. But essentially, this is a new moon that's really gonna, I think, get us questioning, get us thinking about such changes. This indeed is an electrifying new moon. It welcomes exciting change and innovation. But of course, with the square to Uranus, disrupted emotions are likely. And I think perhaps these disrupted emotions are also to do with, okay, oh my gosh, my security. Oh my gosh, this is unfamiliar. Oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. So, yeah, and I'm not saying that either, there's a right or wrong with this, right? Of course, we also have to keep in mind context. We have to think about people's sort of unique walks of life, but challenging for sure. I think this could be quite a challenging, disruptive new moon that could be quite confronting. It's like, look at this stuff to do with these changes and how such things are influencing the environment, or how such things are influencing the economy and people's security and people's livelihoods. And at the same time, maybe what this is indicating is when we look to Saturn sextile Jupiter, leaning into useful spiritual and creative practices can be helpful. And there's also, like I said, that sextile to the North Node in Chiron. So there is something as well to do with courage and bravery coming up during the new moon. And then we also see here that with the trine to Vesta in Gemini, I think this is going to welcome a bit of our ability to gather the facts, our ability to connect the dots, to be quick-witted, to be intelligent, to inform ourselves. But you see, Aquarius, I kind of think of, well, firstly, Gemini is very much a connector. Gemini can connect that pieces together, connect the dots together. I sort of imagine Gemini as like building a puzzle. But Aquarius also can see things from more of this bird's eye view and sort of sees how things are connected on more of an international level or more of a universal level. And so that trine that welcomes then the ability to connect those bigger dots. If we were to throw in Gemini here. So Mercury conjunct Pluto. So this is going to begin to abate by the time the new moon happens. It's not going to be as intense. It's going to lessen. But this is also the question of the world. What about humanity? What type of world do we wish to see is on our minds? And the changes that we seek to make. And recognizing that it starts with us. It starts with us as individuals and how we can, in a way, gather together as a collective. You know, I think Pluto in Aquarius is very much going to be a time period of finding your tribe, if you will, finding the people who you do resonate with on this more frequency level. Who are the people that you can relate to in this way? Who are the like-minded people? But then at the same time, this is also about being able to challenge each other, to be able to have healthy sort of discussions, to have healthy disagreements, to debate, right? To be able to debate our opinions and our views and to be able to challenge what is being said. And this is also creative energy. This is a great time for being creative, for thinking outside of the box, for being inventive. A different way of viewing things can be ushered in. Flashes of insight are likely, like I was saying earlier, cosmic downloads, but then also heightened intuition. And this is something that I talked about in a Instagram post to do with Mercury entering Aquarius. But if you're someone who, if you meditate especially, you may know what I'm about to say or understand more clearly what I'm about to say, but you can close your eyes. So you can close your eyes and you can point them up toward your third eye, and your third eye is located just in between your eyebrows. And that experience is, for me anyway, it's it's so eye-opening. I feel like there's so much that I get from that. A lot of information is sort of funneled through. It just comes through, and I feel so inspired. I feel so inspired. So you can maybe try that, see how that feels for you, how that works for you. There's that whole thing of, activating the third eye, and it's the third eye that's connected to our intuition. But you see, with Pluto, this is also about seeking to cut through the underlying messages. Again, like I was saying earlier, where are we polarized? Where are we extreme? Where are we fanatical? What's being hidden? What is not being brought forward? Where are the secrets, right? Pluto looks at secrecy. Now, Mercury will also score Jupiter. So this could be a new moon where, things are just it's overstimulated, too much. I was watching this fun reel, right? And it's like a scientific Instagram. And the reels are in like a cartoon format. They're quick, they're educational, and they're fun. And in one of them, it was showing an iPhone and how the iPhone has this sort of I'm probably going to absolutely ruin this, but this electric field on it. And the way it was showing the finger being tapping onto the screen, and almost like this electric current was running through the finger, it just made me think, oh my gosh, every time I use my phone to type something or to press something, there's a little electric current that's running through my finger. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm probably being so Aquarian right now, but I'm thinking, what does that mean? Like, does that mean that I'm absolutely frying my body? Is that bad? And then I saw this other reel, and it was like a funny one, and it was a reel of this young boy, and it said, me whenever I am in a care home. And then he just he just saps. His whole body just starts to vibrate, and it goes, zzz, and then he falls onto the bed, and I'm like, is that going to be us? I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, what does that mean, right? So we think about our active use, our overconsumption of social media and technology, which I'm not saying is right or wrong, but I'm just saying, what is that going to mean then for us in the future? Is that going to be a thing? Are we ruining our brains? I don't know. Oh, there's probably some like scientific research out there to do with that. But anyway, it just made me curious. It made me curious. Now, the other thing about this is Mercury squared Jupiter. It's almost like during this new moon, it can feel as if there's certain things that are just beyond our reach, beyond our environment, beyond here, beyond this reality. Things are hard to comprehend right now. And that's maybe also why it's important to try to like get outside, be in nature. And that is a big thing. I think that, let's be honest, Uranus, of course, being the dispositor of the Aquarius energy, Uranus is an important part of this, because Uranus and Taurus is kind of highlighting, okay, well, what about our connections with nature? How disconnected, right? Disconnected, very Aquarian. How disconnected are we from nature? And how do we get back to that? Or is it too late? I'm just throwing these questions out, and I'm just kind of thinking, what do you think? Or like, what are your views on this? Is it too late for us in this way? Are we moving too far away from our connections with nature? Now, I really love astrologer Jasmina because she always talks about the cycles, right? The how astrology is so much about connecting with nature, because essentially we are studying the cycles of the stars and the cycles of us, and how there is that blend. And maybe in this way, astrology is a really useful language to study, especially during these times and coming into these big changes within society. It's like, how can we reconnect with nature and the natural sort of cycles of life and stuff like this? So I'm just wondering. But yeah, I do think that the squares between Aquarius and Taurus right now, there's just a lot of discussion to do with the environment and to do with our relationship, the relationship that we have with the outside world, with the trees, with the rivers, with the mountains. Okay. So, on that note, I just want to say, do keep in mind that Jupiter and Uranus are going to move closer and closer together on I believe it's the 20th of April or the 21st of April for that conjunction at 21 degrees. So, things are building, right? Momentum is building. And I think that the messages that I talk about with respect to nature and the earth, they're going to be much more profound, and things are going to be way more obvious and clearer the closer that we get to that time period. But I also want to mention as well that as Mercury does sort of start to move throughout the sign of Aquarius, things I think will become more clearer in terms of what comes up during the new moon too. Now, Pluto is also going to sextile Pallas. Essentially, this is like, I like to play around with myths. I like to play around with the gods and the goddesses, the Greek gods and goddesses. So we have Hades and Pallas, Athene. So they have something to teach us about seeing the bigger picture of the collective unconscious. Pallas, I want to say, what I love, okay, this is something that came up for me during the Alexander documentary that I just mentioned. And this is what I was saying with things just sort of clicking in place for me. But in it, it was saying something along the lines of, with Alexander, it was this thing of strategy versus using brute strength or brute willpower, something like that. And it made me think about the difference between Pallas Athene in the chart, which is this asteroid of strategy. So the difference between Pallas Athene and Mars, aka Aries, who was the god of war. Aries was this really like brutal, bloodlust fighter, very like savage in a way, and apparently much of the people didn't worship him. They didn't actually like him, because, well, he was right. It was a bit aggressive, if you will. But it just made me think of those differences because Pallas is so much about strategy. And I'm pretty sure that Pallas, Athene, and Aries, they would fight, right? They would battle. And Pallas, Athene would often win. But you see that's different, A strategy is different to just going in and just pure attacking something, right? And your whole body is just like instinctive, and there's no strategy behind it, okay? And so with the sextile, I think these themes are going to come up to do with how can we sort of use greater strategy, especially thinking about the bigger picture. What has been stored up? What has been repressed? This is about fighting to set our inner demons free. Perhaps we can do this through therapy. We can do this through sex. We can do this through symbolism, exploring mythology like I just did, right? You can kind of sense the sort of mythological themes that exist within the universe and these archetypal themes that exist within the universe, which is so astrology. This is the beautiful thing about astrology is astrology has opened me up to greater mythology and to archetypes. It's incredible. One more thing though, before I move on, just a quick fact that came to me about Alexander, if you care, but I just wanted to share it. But I looked up the birth chart of Alexander the Great, and I'm pretty sure that he had an Aries rising with Pluto in Aries. Now, I'm not the one who, said this the time he was born. I'm just going off what I saw on astrotheme.com. I'm not sure who, declared his time of birth. I'm not even sure how you would figure that out. I don't know if it's been confirmed or whatever. But anyway, the Aries rising and the Pluto in Aries makes so much sense to me because in the documentary, which if you watch for yourself, he is just very much daring and he rides into battle. That man was fearless. He just went straight into the war zone. No holding back. And that was actually a big part of, I think, why he did so well, but then he was also foolish. He was also really, really foolish. He really believed too that he was a god. He believed that, but I think that belief drove a lot of his confidence. But you see, Aries is very confident. And even the Pisces energy in the 12th for the Aries rising, it's like, okay, I believe in this. So there's that kind of driving force. And then also with Pluto, he was a master manipulator. He was a huge manipulator. He manipulated people so that he could win. But anyway, that was just something I wanted to share. Okay, let's move on to the final notes before we move on to your horoscopes. Venus and Mars trine Uranus. Plus, like I said, we have this grand Earth trine between Juno retrograde in Virgo and then Uranus in Taurus and Venus in Capricorn. So like I said earlier, look to your Earth houses for more information about certain, gifts and talents in this way, how things can be enhanced, thinking about beauty and relationships within the Capricorn house, thinking about how you can bring meaning and commitment to your relationships within the Virgo house, and thinking here about surprise and the unexpected and excitement within the Taurus house. Change is upon us, all right? Right? Now, with then Venus conjunct Mars, for the past few weeks, we have been putting work into your Capricorn house. So whatever house Capricorn rules in your chart, it's like this is where you've been putting in a lot of the work. So for example, I have Capricorn in the 5th house And this means that Mars and Venus have been transiting my 5th house. And so, yeah, things have very much things are being built. Let's just put it that way. Things are being built within my Capricorn house, especially when it comes to my creativity, when it comes to my projects. I finished a really long project there, which lasted for about 4 months. So that project has been followed through to completion. That is Capricorn. Okay. That is Capricorn in a nutshell. Capricorn says, okay, this is about the long haul. This is a project that could take me a long time, but I'm going to go step by step by step by step. I'm going to climb, I'm going to climb, I'm going to climb, build, build, build. And then you realize, oh, right, okay, I followed it through. I persevered. So yes, consider what you're building within your Capricorn house. And the union of Mars and Venus welcomes confidence, actually. Confidence, desire, passion, love, talent, creativity. This is pragmatic energy. This is practical energy. This is mature energy. But then you throw into the mix the trine to Uranus around this new moon, especially. It's like zapped, right? Zapped, kind of like I was saying earlier. But being zapped by inspiration, by insight, by a new way forward creatively. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the new creative vision. This is the new path. I can see it in a flash. Wow. A voice inside has been bringing us back to life. That's actually a line from a song that I really love. It's called Back to Life. Yes, time to fly high. I think this is a new moon that can be really exciting. Yes, it can be overstimulating. It can be a moon where we're overthinking or where we're freaking out, we're worried, we're panicked. Yes, okay. But it's also, I think, welcoming in this surge of energy. Lightning bolts like Zeus. Lightning bolts. Lightning bolt moments. Now, Venus, of course, is stronger. It's much stronger to Uranus. So I think that this is being reminded, this is a new moon that will remind us of the value of universal truths. That we're being reminded of our immortality and that our time on earth is limited. So you know what? Through this lens of like, okay, our time on earth is limited. Maybe this is the whole thing of, then what are you waiting for? Then what are you waiting for? Go, take the leap. Take that next step. Life is short. It's this type of attitude, I think. But then, of course, the other thing about it is still be wise, still be mature, still try to come at things from a pragmatic view because this is Capricorn energy. Now, there's also the sextile to Neptune, which I think adds some feeling, compassion, get in the flow, see the beauty that surrounds you. This is getting passionate about spirituality, but also seeing how spiritual practices and spiritual qualities can be grounded within reality and seeing how things are so deeply spiritual within our everyday lives, right? You look at a beautiful flower or a beautiful shell, for example, and all of those little twists and turns and the patterns and the colors. I mean, it's nature, but it's also deeply, deeply spiritual. And then this is also about the practical applications of moral principles. Now, like I said, sextile, there will be the sextile between Saturn and Jupiter. So this is anchoring energy. And then with the trine to Juno retrograde, this is also ushering in, welcoming in some commitment. All right, so we have went through the different aspects. So we're going to have a little tiny break and I'll just read through your comments. Hello, everyone. Hi, Time. Thank you so much, Time. That is really lovely of you. Thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And Heidi, hello to you, Heidi. You said, my words are gold. Well, thank you. Peace and love so much. Come visit in Canada. Oh, I would love to revisit Canada. I have been there before. I visited in Canada. I visited Toronto, and I also visited Vancouver and the Rocky Mountains. I can't remember all the names of the lakes that I went to, but that was such an amazing tour. I actually remember I was in a hostel. I forget the city or the like the town. I forget. But anyway, it was out east from Vancouver, and I'm trying to remember. But anyway, it's okay. If it comes to me, it comes to me. If it doesn't, it's okay. But I was out east and I was in a hostel, and then I remember meeting like an English guy there, and we were talking, and he was saying about a tour. They were doing a tour out in the Rocky Mountains, and I was like, "Oh, I would love to join." And then I got introduced to the tour guide, who was from Canada, and joined them. It was so much fun. It was like the best trip. It was awesome. Loved the scenery and the mountains. I would love to go back to Canada one day. One day. Oh, hello, Teresa. Hi. Hello, Eddie. Welcome. Hi, Cole. Welcome to you. Hello, Sally. Hi, welcome. I like your icon because it's Sally Skellington. Love it. Fun. And hello, Bruno. Yes, that is true. That is another possibility with this. Love that. Yeah. Brings a deep opportunity of learning. We love to see that. Learning. Okay. So I'm going to have some water and then we're going to get into your horoscopes. Give me just a moment and I'll get my time stamps ready now. So then you will not have to wait as long. Shout out to Purnell Bobby for this idea, because I remember did a live with Purnell. We were doing role plays for Pluto in Aquarius, which was so much fun, by the way. You got to check out that live. You just got to check out Purnell's channel overall. But Purnell was doing the timestamps as he went along, and I was like, oh my gosh, awesome. I could use that. So yeah, Purnell, shout out to you. Right, where am I? I need to find the timestamps. What time are we on now? Okay, 57. Kimberly, you are calling in viewing, should I say, from Oregon. Oh, I'm sure it is beautiful there. I'm sure it's so beautiful there. And Bruno, you say you are saying hi from Portugal. I've been to Lisbon before and loved it. Do they say, is it a saying that Lisbon is like the San Francisco of Europe? Is that a thing? I don't know. But Lisbon was beautiful. Trams, yes, across the city. Many hills. Let me tell you, I did not realize how hilly Lisbon was before I visited. But I loved it. I loved it. I remember traveling along the coast. The sea, or is it the coast, the seafront? And it was a lovely day, I remember as well. Hello, Antonia. You say you're calling, you are viewing from South Africa. Welcome to you. Welcome. And you Barry, you're calling from Nashville. Why do I keep saying calling? It's just, did I learn? I think it's because I'm trying to do two things at once and I'm like, ooh. Anyway. Okay. Right. I'm going to get this ready. Cool. You are viewing from Kansas. Hello to you. It's amazing, isn't it? It's so cool. It's so cool. Like so many people from different areas of the world, different walks of life. I love it. I absolutely love it. Right. So we're going to get into your horoscopes. Oh, Lisbon is a Gemini city. Golden light of the evening. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. I would love to see other places in Portugal. Pretty sure there's some island. There's an island to the west. Forget the name of it. But I remember seeing photos, and people on Instagram were saying that it's sort of like, it looks like Hawaii, but it looked pretty surreal. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Bruno. Those names, they sound familiar. And hello to John. You're viewing from Kentucky. Cool. And Pedro, you are viewing from Brazil. Hi. Yeah. Got people from all over the world here. Awesome. Right. So we're going to get into your horoscopes now. Let's zoom out here. Okay. So Aries, starting off with you, Aries. The new moon is happening in your 11th house. So you, Aries, are going to be setting intentions to do with how you show up within teams and groups. And it could be that there's much social change being ushered in when it comes to your nation, your country, when it comes to an organization that you're a part of, or organizations, around where you live. And perhaps this is also looking at how you seek freedom and independence within the collective, what you stand for, what your mission is, how you also are a part of a group, but at the same time, how you differentiate from that group. And we also noticed that with Mercury and Pluto, the Mercury and Pluto conjunction beginning to abate and lessen, I think that this is looking at these questions that have come to your mind, to do with group involvements and even to do with friendships as well. That's another possibility. But this is about really seeing, okay, well, what's the truth and what's being hidden? And how is your mindset being transformed here? Seeing things in a different way, a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective. And at the same time, with these squares to your Taurus house, we are noticing this discord and this challenge, actually, to do with your security and your resources. Thinking here about your earnings and how you spend money, how you save. Yeah, so really looking at your income and your outgoings in this way. And like I said, there is this challenge, this challenging quality. But this is also about how you can re-strategize, or how you can step up to the challenge, or thinking about what alternatives you can seek. The thing about Uranus energy is that it is a planet to do with seeking alternatives and exploring a new way, different options. Plus, with Jupiter, Jupiter does look at how we can grow, how we can expand our worldview. Jupiter can look at opportunity. So maybe as there is some tension and possible discord here to do with your physical security versus organizations and groups in the collective, this is still about you trying to see, okay, what other options are available? How can you point toward a new horizon, so to speak? Plus, with the grand Earth trine happening in your 2nd, 6th, and 10th houses, Aries, I think that this can point towards some rewards or talents or gifts to do with your profession, to do with your reputation and your public image. And looking here at grounding, settled, committed energy as well, and thinking about what you're building for the long term. And then also, of course, reassessing how it is that you look after your health and your well-being. So Taurus next. So moving on to Taurus. So the new moon is happening in your 10th house, Taurus. So this is about you setting new intentions to do with your career path, to do with your professional life, and thinking about the changes that are going to come up with respect to these areas, and thinking as well about innovation and how innovation and change can really lead the way with respect to your long-term successes when it comes to your life's mission, your life's work, your achievements, your accomplishments, considering the type of person you wish to be known for. And then at the same time, social change is being ushered in. Social change is being ushered in with respect to the career sphere, with respect to public figures and members of authority as well. And then we also see with Mercury and Pluto conjunct, as this conjunction begins to abate and lessen, I think that what will be really on your mind is this whole question of, okay, well, where do I feel empowered the most when it comes to my status, when it comes to my reputation? What is it that I seek here? What is it that I want out of my purpose the most? Questioning these things, gaining a fresh perspective, wanting to see, okay, well, what have I not thought of yet? And there are also squares happening to Jupiter and Uranus in your 1st house. So we are then noticing some challenges and some conflict to do with your life path, to do with your aims and your goals and your ambitions. It's like, what's the next direction? What is the next step for you? And whilst there are these sort of conflicting messages or feelings of uncertainty, perhaps, there's also the ability to address such challenges, to think, okay, how can I overcome these challenges? What can I change? How can I grow? How can I expand my awareness? How can I seek alternatives and explore other ways? What is the next step? Really questioning, okay, what's the leap? What's the new way forward? Progression in this respect. And how such things, well, they're really going to change them. I'm going to be honest, Taurus, because Uranus and Jupiter are in your 1st house, pretty personal. These matters I talk about are going to change your life trajectory. And that's kind of a big deal. You think about that mixed in with purpose stuff, again, a big deal. So there is that. And then it's also about expansion, opportunity, new possibilities, a new way forward. And as I was mentioning earlier, Uranus and Jupiter are going to form that conjunction in April. So the energy is building momentum, and there is more to this story, basically. Still, what I also want to say is that there is the Earth grand trine happening in your 1st, 5th, and 9th houses. So these houses of spirit, these houses of creativity, being somewhat more aligned with our creative essence. So to have these activations, I think it's looking at these gifts and talents and enhancements to do with higher education, to do with advanced training, to do with, okay, what is it that lights me up? What is it that fuels me? What is it that brings me joy? And feeling somewhat more grounded when it comes to seeking, when it comes to learning more, but doing so through a lens of practicality and being pragmatic and thinking about, okay, is this sustainable? Is this long lasting? Is this what I truly want for my future? So Gemini, we notice here that the new moon is happening in your 9th house, Gemini. So with the new moon in Aquarius in the 9th, okay, you are setting new intentions, of course, to do with publishing, media, trade, technology, thinking here about long distance travel, how you get your messages out there, how you seek to innovate when it comes to your publications, when it comes to how you broadcast. This is a new moon of a lot of information and energy and wanting to pour out your thoughts and to deliver your knowledge to the world. So setting new intentions with respect to these things. But then if we also consider the social change being ushered in when it comes to the likes of publishing, and even social change when it comes to higher education, higher learning, progress, a new way forward, how matters related to teaching and being a mentor, these areas are going to shift and change quite a bit over the next coming years, especially whenever Uranus enters your sign around 2025, 2026. Noticing a lot of people, talking about homeschooling, for instance. So yeah, educational systems could very well change, but it's how you adapt to those changes. And I think, Gemini, you're going to be one of the leading signs here when it comes to adapting. I just want to say there was a course that I did last year, and the course was to do with transformation within a digital world. And it was a course to really help us understand the changes that are up ahead to do with technology, and you sort of think about the digital immersion. So one of the key points that was made was the understanding of adapting. We're moving into a generation, we're moving into a time period in which information and learning and upskilling are going to be very, very necessary. So for you, Gemini, well, your sign tied to that of information and data and connecting the dots. So all of this is to say that I think that Gemini, you're going to be some of the people who are really going to embrace a lot of the changes that are up ahead through a technological, informative, educational lens. And then on that note, with Pluto and Mercury, my mistake. With Pluto and Mercury being conjunct and how that conjunction is going to abate by the new moon, I think that the future of networking and how networking is tied to travel and broadcasting and teaching and sharing and everything else, I think a lot of that is going to be on your mind around the new moon and considering, how you can be ahead of the curve. This is what I'm getting. Now, there are also squares happening to both Uranus and Jupiter in the 12th house here for you, Gemini. So these squares, I actually think, this is what I think. I think you're in a preparation stage right now. I think a lot of Gemini are actually getting their facts straight, getting their values sort of straight about, okay, the next step is coming, but I gotta prepare. See, Jupiter's gonna enter your sign by June of this year. And so that is really going to be a time period where a lot of Gemini are coming out, right? They're coming out, they're getting all these opportunities. They're really expanding their worldview. They're traveling. They're meeting like minds. They're embracing the flow, the stream of information. Of course, Jupiter will also make a trine to Pluto for a little bit. And then Uranus is going to follow that same path by 2025, 2026. So indeed, all of this is to say that the first house activation is going to come up, but whilst the new moon is happening and the 12th house is being activated, I think this is actually pointing toward a little bit of ease, more relaxation, sensation, okay? Tapping into the body, trying to process things. Feel it out, Gemini. Feel it out during this new moon. What sits well with you? Not just on a mental level, right? This is about a physical, tapping into the body. And here's the thing, just to add to this. I don't need to tell you anything about seeking alternatives, right? I don't need to. Here's the thing about this. With the Earth grand trine between your 8th, 12th, and 4th houses, this is going to be quite supportive energy to help you kind of go, right, okay, I need to regulate. Right, okay, I need to really sit with something and feel it out. And I need to focus my energy on what matters for the long haul. I think this is an opportunity for you to get really quiet with yourselves, Gemini, during this new moon. Especially thinking here about how such matters are related to your family, your home, your security, your emotional security, but then also thinking about commitments and thinking about who you share with, okay? Shared resources, shared accounts, etc. Okay, so moving on to Cancer. I'm just going to have a read through the comments, seeing as we're 3 signs in. Sally, you say you're watching from New Jersey. Hello. And Renaissance of Consciousness, you say you've got Gemini, Sun, and Moon here. You totally get it. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for your feedback. Okay. We're going to move on to Cancer. Cancer. This new moon is happening in your 8th house. So we're seeing here that you'll be setting new intentions with respect to, I think, how you're going to transform on a psychological level and what you can maybe sense, what you can sense that's up ahead as Pluto does start to travel throughout your 8th house. Of course, Cancer, you're often seen as being rather intuitive, right? You get these gut reactions about people and situations, and you're the types of people who can really suss things out. I just want to even further say to this, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, and I don't mean to bore you with this information, but to bring it back to Alexander, Alexander the Great, because of the documentary that I watched, he was a Cancerian, right? His sun was in Cancer, Venus was there, his Mercury was there. And I think in that documentary, it talked quite a bit about his ability to empathize at the same time. He could show somewhat this empathy towards other. He could sort of read other people emotionally too. And he was also, I think, a part of it was him being receptive. He was receptive. And that ability to be receptive is what helped him open up to other ways of being. Helped him when it came to his own sort of quests, if you will. So bringing this back to you, Cancer, I think you have this receptive quality to you. You can kind of sense, okay, I feel this. This is what feels right to me. I'm going to go here. Oh, but this way, this doesn't feel so right to me. I'm not going to go that way. And that's sort of that intuition, speaking to you. So bringing this back to that Aquarius energy, Aquarius in the 8th, I think it's I kind of look at the signs as like a whole thing. So even with Cancer on the 1st, it's like that Cancer in the 1st is connected to everything else in the chart. So to have Aquarius in the 8th, that I think adds to your intuition, in that the Aquarius energy welcomes this part of you that can sort of bring information down on this from this cosmic level and into reality, if you will. So what this can suggest during this new moon is, Cancer, you could be one of the signs where it just feels like things are just flowing through you. The information is just pouring through like a channel. I'm like, oh, flip. Yeah. You kind of think as well about the 8th house and how it can be linked to the occult. It can show up as astrology, for instance. You think about those sort of esoteric subjects. So with these huge Aquarius activations for you, Cancer, during the new moon, I think that your intentions could very well be linked to such things, right? Thinking about astrology, thinking about the types of connections that you wish to make with other people. Who do you align with on a spiritual level? Thinking also about intimacy. And of course, intimacy doesn't just have to be, with a significant other. Intimacy can also be with a close friend. I think, Cancer, you're one of the signs that has this opportunity, many opportunities over the next 20 years to really evolve, right? It's almost like, because I've watched some information about crabs, and I'm pretty sure that certain crabs, they take the shell from other crabs. Now, trying to just recall where I saw that, but I'm pretty sure they can take the shell of another crab. So to me, it's sort of like, when I think about this, and I really don't mind to sound silly when I say this, Cancer, but it's almost like you're gonna be reinventing yourself in terms of your shell, in terms of home, because that shell is sort of it's a depiction. It's so symbolic for your home, for your security, for your livelihood, for protection. So to me, I just think that this is a new moon that's sort of going to usher in these changes to do with where you feel the most secure. And I think a lot of it as well has to do with trust. Oh, Cancer, you're gonna evolve so much when it comes to trust. And at the same time, whilst there are intentions that will be set to do with these areas, so thinking about trust and commitment and emotional bonding and intimacy and all the rest of it, there's also the part of this in which social change is going to be ushered in. And maybe that social change is to do with debt or taxes or loans. shared resources, managing other people's finances and people that are a part of that. So there could be major shifts coming in. And then at the same time, with Mercury conjunct Pluto, of course, that conjunction is going to lessen by the time the new moon takes place. So I think many Cancerians are sitting with these aha moments of, wow, I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think that way before, but now I'm thinking this way now. And I'm like, I can't look back. So I just think that this is a really good opportunity for Cancers to really go within and to assess their shadow, to assess their unconscious. And that is going to be so liberating and freeing for many Cancerians. But you're going to be sitting with that information by the new moon. And perhaps that's also going to be a part of the intentions that you set. But you see, this is also where community and togetherness and belonging and friendship and everything else comes in, even more so because you've got Jupiter and Uranus in the 11th house making squares to the Aquarius energy. So I think that this is welcoming in some sort of change when it comes to who you align with on a value level. It's like, what type of values do I share with such and such or with this group? And it's sort of thinking about, do I feel secure within this social situation? How can I seek alternatives? How can I explore new options here when it comes to these areas? But then I would also say the 11th house, hopes and wishes for the future. I think the future for Cancers during this new moon is very much going to be on your minds, but it's about more of a calm, serene, grounded, less worrisome energy. You know, I think Cancerians, you want a simple life. And what I mean by that is just doesn't need to be super complicated. Doesn't need to be super complicated. Why are we overcomplicating this? Why? Why? So I think that this is going to be a new moon that's going to usher a lot of this in. Now, with the same token, Taurus in the 11th, Capricorn in the 7th, Virgo in the 3rd, the Earth Grand Trine is happening. So this is really beautiful, harmonious energy within your relationships, Cancer. Oh, yes. This is like, oh, yeah, you know, I can see that. I feel the bond. I feel like we can see eye to eye here. I feel like you're sort of trying to value what I'm trying to get across. Yeah, this is grounding, sensual, desirable energy, which can be quite harmonious with the Earth Grand Trine. Okay, so we're moving on to Leo. Leo, let's move on to you. Okay, so this new moon is happening in your 7th house. So this is a new moon where you're going to set new intentions, okay, to do with business partnerships. It's like, okay, I want to work with this person. These are the types of clients I want to have. Oh, this is the customer that I've been serving for a while, or this is the type of relationship that I have with this type of customer. And then it's like, you know what? I would like more of those types of customers. Or do you know what? Yeah, I would like to enter into a business opportunity with such and such. Or it's saying, this is the person that I work with, this is the person I collaborate with, or these are the people I collaborate with. And so you're setting new intentions. It's like, what do we want to change together? What do we want to innovate together? It's like, yes, okay, let's get the ideas flowing. Streams of consciousness. I think this can actually be quite creative for many Leos, actually, around the new moon. Because you think about it, you know, the sun is your chart ruler, and that's across from you. So what does this suggest? It's like other people have all these amazing ideas, and all you have to do is listen to them, Leo. All you have to do is go, oh, this person is talking about this. Ah, boom, 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 boom. I get it. This is incredible. It's like other people are going to be huge mirrors for you, reflections, like people who are creative, people who are innovative, people who like to invent things, people with original ideas. Listen to them, take it in, embrace it, let all that information be channeled through, Leo. Now, I also want to mention, like anything in the seventh house, especially with Pluto there, just want to say, power struggles are likely. Yes, okay, there can be some power struggles. So maybe it's also kind of having to assess carefully, who are the people in the shadows? Who are the people who give false hype, this false encouragement? Or maybe these are the people that I shouldn't be listening to. Maybe these are the people that I don't align with. Okay? It's like this is time period to really sit with those thoughts. And like I said, setting new intentions when it comes to these areas. Plus, with the social change aspect, social change is being ushered in here then when it comes to business, when it comes to how business is done. You know, maybe there's certain business strategies and models that you just don't agree with, you don't align with, and you're like, I don't appreciate that. Or maybe you're someone who, you know, you want to stand for a different cause or a new way. You want progress. Now, Mercury and Pluto will be conjunct as well, but that conjunction will start to lessen by the time the new moon happens. But I think what you're being sort of left with are these questions to do with, like I said, teamwork, to do with who you communicate, who you collaborate with, who you cooperate with. But then it's also, I think the seventh house is also a house of competition and our opponents, our competitors, which isn't, I just want to say this, it's not a bad thing, right? Competition and having competitors is not a bad thing. In fact, when it comes to business, there are competitors. That's part of business. So I think it is a good opportunity for you to kind of see, right? Okay, well, what's happening out there? You know, who are the competitors? How can I innovate? How can I change? What can I do differently? And it's not a personal thing, right? It's not a personal thing, and I think that is going to be highlighted for you, Leo, around the new moon. It's, I think, with the Aquarius energy, it's trying to have a little bit of objectivity. It's not getting your feelings involved in it. Okay. Now, at the same time, there is the squares happening to the 10th house. Okay, this is maybe where we're even seeing more of the sort of business, professional stuff coming into play. We're noticing then the conflict and the challenges to do with what you're known for, your reputation, what you're selling, how you're marketing yourself, how you're presenting yourself, what you're broadcasting to the world, what you want to publish. And maybe this is a good opportunity for you to explore alternatives, explore new ways of showing up here, exploring, you know, how you can connect maybe with experts or professionals or members of authority, managers, bosses, and so on. How can you connect with them in different ways? And what is it about each of these people that is different? And what can you learn from them? Learning from them in a way that can help you become stronger, help you improve. By the way, my light, I just want to say my light went on in the background. Don't worry, it didn't go on its own. It's okay. But anyway, so yes, Leo, I think this is a good opportunity for you to really step up to the challenge then when it comes to these areas. Now, the last thing I want to say for you is that Jupiter is making that trine to Venus and also to the second house. So there's the Earth grand trine between the 10th, 6th, and 2nd houses. So this is quite supportive energy, quite enhancing energy to do with the material plane, to do with resources. Now, of course, with Juno being retrograde in the second house, it is a little bit about, okay, let's revisit, let's re-strategize, let's have another look at things. But I think that this is overall quite supportive energy to do with work and to do with your performance, to do with your productivity levels, how efficient you are, and just getting a few things in order. That's what you've been really focusing on actually this month, is really getting things in order in this way. Okay, so moving on to Virgo. Virgo. All right, so this new moon is happening in your 6th house. What can I say, Virgo? There are these intentions that you're setting to do with efficiency and productivity and your everyday, thinking about your routines and your habits, your schedules. Much is changing, much is being moved about for you, Virgo, which I think very much needed and very much coming from a place of deeper control, right? And what I mean by this is not the same thing of, you know, how you can be where it's like you need to control everything and everything needs to be according to plan and everything like that. What I'm more referring to is having more of a sense of control in terms of your feelings and in terms of what you can physically, practically do. You can often, Virgo, be so, you can take on so much, basically. You can take on so much where there's burnout. It can lead to you feeling really very tired and just, you think, oh, I give so much of myself. Or you overestimated, perhaps, in this way. So I think Aquarius can help you, in a sense, get right with your schedules and your routines and to experiment, to play around with new ways of doing things, what you can change, what you can innovate. I think this is about you even making good use of certain technological advancements, using technology to your benefit, actually, Virgo, to see, oh, right, okay, so this technology means that I can be extra efficient. I can get more done. I can get through things a lot quicker because of this certain device. Great. We love to see it. This is also a good opportunity for you to sort out certain technology situations and issues and errors. Thinking about fixing. The sixth house is also a house where we fix things. We hire people to fix things, right? We hire some, like a plumber, to fix the water. You know, we hire an electrician to fix our electricity. So you could be, you know, considering, oh, who do I need to call? What do I need to fix? What do I need to sort out? I know for me over here, got a Virgo rising, and my goodness, the issues I've had with the streaming and the computer and the freaking Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. But you know what? Thanks to my lovely partner, things are starting to move. Okay. What would I do without him? Anyway, the point being, this is a new moon, I think, where you're going to set new intentions to do with your daily habits, daily matters, your everyday in this respect. And at the same time, social change is being ushered in to do with employment, to do with health, right? Thinking about fitness, thinking about your diet, you know, thinking about how it is that you can live a more healthy life. If it is, for example, that things have been super tiring, or there are certain changes that you really want to make that can help you feel a lot more realigned in this respect. And this can be a good opportunity to, in a way, assist you with some resolve. Then thinking about resolutions, or thinking about what you can resolve, basically. Sorry. But yeah, I hope you get my point. And then the other thing I want to mention is with Mercury and Pluto conjunct, this is going to start to lessen throughout the month. So I think that by the time the new moon happens, what you're going to be left with are these thoughts to do with, hey, do you know what? I actually kind of like this new strategy. I actually kind of like this new way of doing things. I think moving forward, this is going to be the way because I'm going to feel a lot more empowered. I'm going to feel stronger rather than being stuck in the same sort of familiar pattern time and time again. And that may be a lot for Virgos to sort of sit with, because Virgos, I know you sort of think that like your way of doing things is the correct way or the best way, but sometimes it's also like, you know, there may be a different way that you haven't really thought of yet, and that can be welcomed in. So listen, right? Pay attention to what sort of changes can come up, which can help you on an everyday level. And the other thing I want to mention is how we've got the squares going to the ninth house. So with the squares to the ninth house, Virgo, I think this is highlighting some conflict and challenge to do with your higher meaning, to do with your deeply held beliefs. I think a lot of Virgos, this is the thing, this is really what I think for Virgos. Things are about to take off for Virgo. Stay with me here. Jupiter's going to enter the 10th house for you, Virgo. Going to transit your 10th house from June 2024. And then by 2025, 2026, Uranus is going to follow suit. So you've got this Jupiter energy, firstly transiting the 10th, welcoming opportunity and growth and expansion when it comes to your career sphere, when it comes to your professional life, when it comes to your audiences. Many Virgos are going to be getting noticed. Many Virgos are going to be getting these opportunities to do with technology and teaching and publishing and broadcasting, all that stuff, networking. And then Uranus is going to come and it's going to be like, ooh, it's really going to shift and change, maybe in the most unexpected ways. But yes, innovation, Virgo. But here's the thing, before we get to that point, you're what are you doing? You're basically taking a good hard look at training, right? You're training right now, Virgo. Okay? You're training. You're in a class. You're taking all the courses, okay? And these courses, the higher education, the further learning, all of it that you're doing is going to pay off beautifully. Beautifully. Keep at it. Jupiter in Taurus is like, patience is a virtue. Jupiter in Taurus says, you're not going to get there overnight. It says, stick at this, plod along, keep going, keep learning, keep refining your skills, your talents, as you do so wonderfully, Virgo. Keep doing it. So I just wanted to say that the new moon could be like this reminder to keep going. And then also with the grand Earth trine between Jupiter in the 9th, the Capricorn energy in the 5th, and then you've got Juno retrograde in your 1st. The Trinity of Spirit is being activated. And I think this is largely to do with what you're building right now, what you're being consistent with right now is very much about, okay, this is what I want to be successful in. This is my area. This is an expert area for me. This is about the long haul. This is about mastery. I want to improve here. I want to figure things out in a way where I can see the systems. I can see how things are functioning, how things are working, and seeing how things are built from the ground up, the structure, the skeleton of your creative projects. So this is quite harmonious energy. And at the same time, I just want to say around the new moon, it could be quite a loving, sort of embracing, sensual, beautiful time too. Maybe thinking about romance, love, enjoyment, some time off, Virgo, with the 5th house. Just saying. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to look through your comments before we move on to Libra. Hi, hello, Tex. Welcome. Hi. Eddie, you say you're a psychology major. Wow. I mean, that's awesome. Right. So we're now moving on to Libra. Just going to take a quick drink of water. So Libra, we have the new moon, which is happening in your 5th house. Okay. So you're setting new intentions when it comes to possibly children. Okay, this could be where Libras are thinking about having a child or having another child. That could be a possibility. Or you're considering here some time off, some much needed, much well-deserved time off. And there are certain changes that you wish to make there, or you can sort of see, do you know what? This is how I wish things to be different when it comes to time off, so that you can do other things, for instance. And thinking also about your forms of enjoyment, your forms of entertainment. Maybe a lot of this is to do with like watching sci-fi or reading up on science, metaphysics, thinking about more universal truths, thinking also about maths and all of this sort of Aquarian interests and fascinations, I suppose you could say, Libra. Some of these things may be very much on your mind, and it's like, okay, I'm setting new intentions when it comes to this hobby of mine, when it comes to this creative project of mine, when it comes to this form of enjoyment or entertainment of mine, this type of stuff. And at the same time, this is also about some social change with respect to, well, perhaps childcare, right? Thinking about as well creativity, right? So thinking here about how things can change with a little bit of creative thought, and there can be a new way that hasn't been thought of yet, being progressive in this respect. And maybe as well looking at social change with respect to love and dating and romance. So yeah, I think that this is a new moon that's going to highlight a new vision, a new understanding, a fresh view, a different perspective. And with Mercury conjunct Pluto and that conjunction beginning to lessen throughout the week, so coming up to the new moon in Aquarius, you're sort of left with these bigger, more profound, intense questions, detective-like, investigative questions to do with your self-expression and your individuality, thinking about what fills you up, what lights you up, thinking here about your own freedoms and rights, your truth, how you share of your self in this way, how you communicate from a place of, no, this is me, this is what I want. I just want to say, many Libras are redefining themselves. Honestly, many Libras are redefining themselves because you have the North Node and Chiron in Aries in the 7th, and then you also have this huge stellium in the 5th. So a lot of this is to do with, ego, individuality, your identity, and how you're sort of differentiating yourself, how you're separating yourself from an ideal. And it's more about you being an individual, right? And we also notice here that there is this square to Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. So, yes, we are seeing here some conflict and discord. We're seeing challenges with respect to how you share. Thinking about joint financial matters, joint accounts. What money's going into that joint account? What money's going out of it? How is the money being spent? What about taxes? What about extra costs and fees? What about loans that you're taking out? In whose name? Is it that matters are actually a little bit chaotic right now? And maybe as well, you can see that things are getting too extreme or you're feeling quite uncomfortable. It's like, how can we come together here a bit? How can we try to negotiate a bit or reach some sort of resolve? But it might feel like you can't. But then I think what this is also suggesting is, okay, exploring alternatives, exploring a business alternative, a new way forward when it comes to shared resources, perhaps something you haven't thought about, innovating when it comes to joint matters. And I know that I'm focusing a great deal on the sort of financial part of this. And the reason why that is because, it's this Taurus energy in the 8th. And if we want to kind of think about it in a more emotional, inner way, perhaps this is also about, okay, what alternatives are to be looked at and explored so that you can expand and grow when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to emotionally connecting with another, whether this be your significant other or a friend, whoever it may be. But then the kind of final thing I want to mention for you, Libra, is of course, Jupiter is then making that, sorry, my mistake. Uranus is making that trine to Venus and this fourth house energy. And then we also see that Juno retrograde is in the 12th. So I think, this is supportive holding. This is talented energy when it comes to family and emotional support, emotional needs. But it's also seeing where things are restricted a bit, where things are being tested a little bit, and what's being kept inwardly. I think private concerns are really quite activated during this new moon for you, Libra. But those private concerns, thinking about family, for instance, I think this is about having the ability to really come from a place of unity. Of course, Venus is also your chart ruler. So it's kind of saying, okay, what can we do here? How can we practically move forward as a couple, as a family, as a household? Okay, so we're going to move on to Scorpio. Scorpio. Okay, so this new moon is happening in your 4th house. Oh, Scorpio. Interesting one. I mean, Scorpio, for men, this is what I'm kind of observing when it comes to Scorpios. Scorpios really are going through already. I mean, this is already. And I think a big part of why this is so quick already is because Pluto being the chart ruler for you. But I digress. Many Scorpios are going through these transformations when it comes to their private lives, when it comes to their home life. So, of course, this could play out in many different ways, but one way could be where there are these big changes to do with family members and the connections that you experience with family members, especially in a more sort of intellectual, communicative way, thinking about the answers that you're looking for and the answers that you need. And maybe this is also about some sort of change, right? So setting new intentions when it comes to changes within the family. Seeing that, oh my gosh, things really are going to evolve here, aren't they? Things are really going to evolve. This could be evolving, like I said, within the family unit, whether that be family members moving out or family members coming in. So, like children being born into the family, for instance, cousins being welcomed in, fostering a child, whatever it may be. But then the other thing about this is this could also be where certain family, like I said, family members could be moving away, or there could be loss in this, some type of loss. And possibly as well, the loss of property, the loss of a home, or it could be the breakthroughs when it comes to home, when it comes to property, reinventing yourself when it comes to basically property, home, family, your emotional well-being, your emotional security. Again, major themes here to do with your private life. And what is it that you want to keep private? I'm thinking as well about your own sort of secrecy, like having your own secrecy in this way. And there's also then the questions to do with, I think, to do with, how do I say? I'm trying to find, I can't quite remember the words that I'm looking for. So what I'm kind of getting from this is it's not just about the home, the physical home that you live in, but it's also about getting the documentation in order to live in a certain area, in a certain city, in a certain town, whatever it is. I can't remember the words, but essentially we are noticing transformation in this way for many Scorpios. And that can be quite a big deal, actually, because I think a lot of it has to do with where you put down roots. Residency. That was the word I was looking for. Residency. Yes. Okay. Like I said, there's intentions being set when it comes to these matters. But then what I also want to mention is that we see here how social change is going to be ushered in to do with residency, right? Social change is going to be ushered in when it comes to where you live, the area you live in, where you were raised, where you were brought up in, this type of stuff, family stuff. There's going to be all these social changes coming up, thinking about lineage, your ancestors. And what I also want to mention is that as the Mercury Pluto conjunction begins to abate throughout February and coming up to the new moon, I think for many Scorpios, what's on your mind quite a bit is like, okay, these are the conversations that I've been having with certain family members. This is the way they've been acting toward me. Or these are the views that I have now about family and the type of people that I want to live with and connect with. So we are seeing here flashes of insight, which are perhaps a lot more intense leading up to the new moon. But as the new moon happens, it's almost like, oh, okay, I see it now. Now I'm setting new intentions. Now I'm planting new seeds. Of course, there are the squares happening to the 7th. So this is quite interesting because the 7th, of course, looks at relationships. It looks at partnerships, but also thinking about business, right? Business deals, contracts, agreements, etc. So we're seeing some discord. We're seeing some conflict. Maybe this is where we're seeing some of the issues with documentation and agreements and contracts with respect to residency and family and property. It's like, oh my gosh, the mortgage stuff. Oh my gosh, the contracts here to do with rent and all of this. So yeah, we could see some discord, but we can also see stepping up to a challenge. We can also see overcoming a challenge. And we can also see here really understanding and focusing on what is valuable and meaningful to you when it comes to partnership. And considering as well what it is that you seek, especially in terms of greater calm and harmony within relationships. What alternative strategies and options are available to you? What can you explore in a new way? How can you reinvent yourself? Now, we also notice that Uranus is making the trine to the 11th house and to the 3rd. So this grand Earth trine activation, I think, welcomes in some pretty delightful friendships and chats and discussions about the future and discussions about the type of neighborhood that you want to live in or the type of neighborhood that you do live in. I think there's something quite pleasing about relationships and socializing and seeing how you wish to gain feedback from other people. I mean, we could see here possibly some Scorpios really further committing their bond to another. let's just put it that way. And as well, possibly seeing what you would like to build for the future in terms of communities, the community that you're a part of, and certain clubs and communities that you have joined. Okay, so we're going to move on to Sagittarius. Just going to read the comments. Hello, Lafish. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Brianna. Hi. Hello, Knight. Hello, Yumi. Hi, welcome. Hello, Kina. Hi, hi, hi. Awesome. Tradition. Yes, that's a good word. Yes. Well, hello, everyone. I hope you are doing good. Okay, so we're going to move on to Sagittarius now. Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius. This is certainly an interesting one because what's happening here is all of the planets are below the horizon. So in the case of Gemini, so when we think about for Gemini risings, well, I like to do the sun, moon, and rising, but for Gemini, all the planets were above the horizon. So a lot to do with career and public presence. But below the horizon for Sagittarius, there's much to do with the personality. There's much to do with more of an inner look. Looking here, especially at third house matters with this Aquarius stellium. So thinking about your intellect, thinking about how you communicate, considering how you piece together information. Sagittarius, you are the sign that goes beyond the horizon, right? You you gallop toward a new tomorrow. You look at the potentialities, the possibilities, the I can see this in my future. Gonna say the word, I'm gonna manifest this. I feel like manifest is so overused today, but anyway. Anyway. I'm going to manifest this, right? So with Aquarius in your third, I think this is like this real cosmic download opportunity where the streams are going to come in. Like, oh, all right, that's clear. Oh, I get that. Ah, I see that. And that is going to be really very encouraging and inspirational for you, I think. We could see here many Sagittarians really looking after their mental well-being in this way, taking up things like yoga, meditation, journaling, like doing all the things to really sharpen your intuition, to sharpen your ability to download information and to even dream more or to see visions a lot more clearly and things are more crisp. It's like the whole manifestation stuff that I'm talking about. I think that this is a new moon that's going to usher in change where, yes, we get it, Sagittarius, that you tend to be the sign that can manifest really well. I don't know, this belief that you have, this, even if there are certain blockages or delays, whatever, you still have this thing where it's like, I can still see an opportunity here. I can still see an opportunity here. The glass is half full. I can see it, so I think that is really inspirational, right? You're known to be a highly inspirational sign and you inspire others around you. We love it. But yeah, that energy then mixed with all the third house stuff, that's extra potent then, I think. This is like, yes, okay, I can see this path, but the Aquarius energy comes along and it gives so much creativity. It gives so much awareness about uniqueness, about thinking outside of the box. Like, okay, this hasn't been done before. Okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, I'm going to try this. A Sagittarius, what a time to experiment. What a time to experiment with your ideas, with your visions, with your words. Get at it. Go, like, use this energy, use it to your benefit. Amazing. So yeah, I think that this is a new moon that's gonna welcome in these changes and you're going to set new intentions then when it comes to such matters. Now, of course, the third house can also look at our local environment. So thinking about your local neighborhood and the type of street that you live on and the type of neighbors that you have and the sort of city that you walk in and the type of town that you walk in, right? Where do you go to grab your morning coffee? Where do you, or where do you go to get your local shopping in? This type of stuff. So this could very well be, okay, there's going to be innovation there. There's going to be changes there. Changes within the community, within the local community. Maybe making new friends, maybe interacting with like-minded people within your local area. Or maybe this could be where you're going to set new intentions to do with finding people who you align with, who maybe have something of interest to share, or something that's different and unique, right? And with the social change part of it, the social change is going to be ushered in to do with transportation, to do with movement, how you get from A to B, how you commute. Social change is also going to be ushered in to do with siblings and cousins. And as the Mercury Pluto conjunction begins to abate, I think that come the new moon, you're going to be left with so many discoveries, and you're sort of overwhelmed by all of the connections and all of the dots that you formed. And you're just like, okay, I have a lot here. Where do I start? Where do I start? And of course, the thing about you, Sagittarius, is that you can have the tendency of like starting loads of things and not really finishing them. Just saying. It's not a bad thing. It's not good or bad, but I think in the context of, oh my gosh, where do I start? Just try and just consider what you can practically, physically do. And then this is also where we want to bring in the squares to Jupiter and Uranus, because these squares to the sixth house can also be where, okay, this overextending of the self, right? Jupiter expands, whatever it touches can go overboard. So there is that overboard energy coming up to do with work, to do with your services, to do with your everyday, to do with your routines, where it's like, yes, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. This is Sagittarius energy, right? Sagittarius I see as like this big yes person. It's like, oh, yes, let's do this. Oh, yeah, okay, that's the next thing. Oh, amazing. And we love you for it. But it's also, I think, highlighting here with the squares, practical, be pragmatic, choose wisely, Sagittarius. This is a new moon where it's like, okay, I'm going to choose my options wisely. And at the same time, I know I don't really need to say anything to you about exploring alternatives. I mean, this mutable energy is so much about, alternatives, and I can change things about and be flexible. We love that about you, but it's also a little bit about, okay, but how can you just take it one step at a time, and how can you follow through? Jupiter in your sixth house has been so much about that, Sagittarius. Jupiter is your chart ruler, and Jupiter has been teaching you a lot about follow through, follow through, follow through. Okay, and I know you may not you might not be the best at that, but I think this is looking at patience, how patience can be such a great virtue for you during this time. And maybe as well, it's kind of saying, right, you know what? I can't actually do this, 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 and this, this, and this. And I need to be honest about myself. I need to be honest with myself. And then having that awareness about you and go, okay, not for me. I can't do that. So if anything as well, Jupiter has been helpful too, because Jupiter has been teaching you, what you can physically do and what you can't physically do, and how such things are tied to your health and your well-being. Now, what I further want to mention is Jupiter here. Oh, sorry, Uranus. My mistake. Uranus here in the sixth, making the trine to Venus in the second, and then we've got this Juno retrograde in the 10th. Okay, Sagittarius. So, I think that this is quite rewarding, enhancing gifted energy to do with your materials and your resources, and being actually somewhat pragmatic. I think actually the Mars Venus energy transiting your second house over the past while has really ushered in your ability to slow down a little bit. That plus the Jupiter energy has also done that. So yeah, I think that this can indicate how your values have really come up here to do with gradual movement, and thinking also about the long haul. Okay, endurance, persistence, the follow through stuff that I was talking about. But then basically, I just think that this is overall quite harmonious energy to do with the work sphere, to do with money stuff, wealth, and to do with your public image and your reputation. Okay, so we're going to move on to Capricorn. Got 3 signs left. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Let's see. Hello, Brianna. Good. Yes. I am doing good. Thank you. Yes, I am, Brianna. How are you doing? Are you doing good? You say practical and impartial. Thank you so much. Thank you for your lovely feedback. Okay. Right. So we're moving on to Capricorn now. So Capricorn, this new moon is happening in your second house, right? So we are noticing then intentions, setting new intentions to do with the wealth sphere, the wealth area of your life, thinking about investments you want to make, especially with Pluto actually transiting the seventh. I think a lot of Capricorns are going to be adding to their businesses. If you are a Capricorn who's got a business, I mean, many Capricorns do. You're a sign tied to business, and uh, running running a small business may be very much up a Capricorn street, or just working for yourselves. So we are noticing then with Pluto, there could be big money moves. This could even be Capricorn, where it's actually people who want to invest in you. Right? People are reaching out to you, right? Aquarius even looks at other people's gains. Aquarius is tied to this type of stuff. So it could be that there's sort of wealth pouring in from others. So investors, and as I said, people who want to work with you, people who want to collaborate with you. But of course, this is also, as you know, Capricorn, as you do so well, this is by choosing wisely who you want to work with, who's worth it. It's like, I need to really assess here, is this opportunity worth my time? Am I going to get paid for this? Am I going to be recognized for this? Am I going to learn something from this opportunity? Is this something that could potentially help me in the future of my career? You think about these things, Capricorn. And so the new moon, I think, can usher in some type of intention setting when it comes to these matters. And intention setting as well when it comes to how it is that you do move money around. Thinking about your credit score, for instance. Do you want to get on the housing ladder? And I know that is seems somewhat of an impossible thing in today's economy. I know. But, there's still people out there that do it. That's what I'm saying, right? So this could be on your mind as well, this type of stuff. Your security is very much on your mind because we're seeing a lot of this activity happening in this area of life tied to physical security. That's what I'm trying to get at. But then I think what this is also pointing toward is social change when it comes to these areas, social change when it comes to credit scores and property and security and wealth and money and all the rest of it. So there could be a few things that you actually highly disagree with, or there could be a few things that you can see, what, these things do need to change. Parts of the system, parts of the way things operate within this economy, I don't really agree with them. How can we innovate here? How can we point towards something better here? And with Pluto and Mercury, that conjunction beginning to abate, these things will be on your mind. These areas, these matters are going to be more intense and they're going to be much more prominent the week leading up to the new moon. But then, of course, coming up to the new moon, it's like, okay, I can see that from this research, from this data, from this information that I've looked up. Oh, right, okay, that sounds a bit terrible. That sounds a bit ugly. Maybe don't go for that. Capricorn, you're going to read the small print. I think you're going to really consider like also the dark side of information, and you're not just going to follow blindly. I mean, you don't do that anyway. Yeah. You tend to always be 2 steps ahead, kind of similar to Scorpio, Capricorn. Okay, so What I also want to mention, of course, are the squares to Jupiter and Uranus in the 5th house for you, Capricorn. So, yes, there's some conflict and discord, I think, to do with actually enjoyment, to do with pleasure, to do with fun, to do with free time, because maybe it's just that it's hard to sort of find that balance between free time and then work mode, right? Where you're so focused on, okay, I'm building this. Okay, I got to think about my security, got to think about the future, all this stuff. But then the Taurus energy, I think it does invite some type of relaxation and pleasure and sensuality and closeness, especially thinking about romance and love, thinking about some time off, especially to just put your feet up and eat good food and enjoy your time, whatever. But it could also be where it just feels like, I don't get a minute, I don't have a second. But here is the thing. This is also about seeking alternatives. This is about thinking outside of the box. This is about innovation. Being able to see, actually, oh, this is a new method. Oh, I never thought of that before. Oh, actually, this is a really creative thing. Using your creativity to help you see a new way forward. Plus, with Uranus making this grand Earth trine with Venus and in the 1st house, and of course Mars is there as well, and then Juno is in the 9th house. Good time to really think about, okay, these are my goals, these are my aims, this is my life path. Capricorn, Capricorn, Capricorn. For the past month, you have been looking at the plan, looking at the business plan if you have a business. Many Capricorns have been experiencing, yes, these intense sort of deaths and rebirths, trials and tribulations over the past 16 years to do with these areas, right? Thinking about your goals, thinking about your trajectory, your life path, your aims and ambitions and everything else. But of course, Pluto being in Aquarius, and then you throw into the mix Venus and Mars and Mercury in your sign over the past few weeks. You've had a good opportunity, a good window with this forward movement, let's just say, okay, planets direct. There was also a bit of an ability at the end of December, right? From the 13th until the 23rd of December, you had an opportunity, Capricorn, to reassess the business plan, right? To go over it, to have a good hard think about it. So now all the planets are direct coming into February, and with January as well, it's time to move forward. It's like, okay, these are the moves. Okay, I see it. I see that this is the strategy. This is the way I need to build from now on. This is what I need to structure. And having this focus to go for it. So, yeah, this is a new moon, I think, that's going to support this energy. Aquarius. So, Aquarius, this is your new moon, right? It's in your sign. You're the star of the show. I like to say that sometimes whenever the moon happens in a particular sign, to say that you are the star of the show. For you especially, I mean, Pluto has just entered your sign within the past couple of weeks. But indeed, Aquarius, this is about you setting new intentions to do with your very aims and goals and ambitions. It's like, okay, that this is what I want to see in the world. This is what I want to change. This is how I want to put the world to rights. This is how I want humanity to improve. But it's also about your own sort of personal achievements, isn't it? And it's also about your own personal views and opinions and your own sort of life path as well, with the 1st house being activated. And moving in a direction where it's like, okay, this is what I want to do and this is what I want out of my life. And being somewhat innovative and creative in the process, being able to think outside of the box. Many Aquarians are going to experience these rushes of ideas and new ways of seeing things. Okay, different methods will be experimented with and explored. And with the new moon then happening in your sign, you'll be setting new intentions. This is about you planting new seeds when it comes to your future. And this is the type of new moon that's going to change the trajectory of your life. So choose wisely. I'm joking. I'm joking. There's obviously so much more to this, right? There's so much more to it. But indeed, I think Aquarius, it's quite a big deal. And yes, as I said at the beginning, the moon will be void of course, so we think about how the new moon will happen, and then it's like, okay, the moon is void of course until it enters Pisces. But the void of course moon, yes, it's inviting extra reflection, extra contemplation, all of that. Yep, we like to see that. We also see, okay, you're overstimulated. Maybe for you, especially Aquarius, it's like overactive mind, overthinking, thinking maybe too much about things, being overly idealistic. It's like, I want to do this and this. Aquarius can get carried away in this way by a world of ideas. We know this about you, Aquarius. But it's also about seeing that you can focus your energy too. Aquarius can have such a disciplined mindset, especially with Mercury being in Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius can be really disciplined, actually, when it comes to studying any sort of thing, or any subject that you're studying, Aquarius. I think that this is a good opportunity for you to think, okay, well, how would I like to follow through with that? What is it that interests me here? So there is discipline in this. There is a firmness to this. Being able to solidify things. So I think you're going to set new intentions from this place of clarity, this place of having a sharpened intuition during this new moon. And it's like, oh, okay, yep, got it. The message, it's loud and clear. The message about the next series, the message about the next book, the message about the next job, the message about the new relationship, or furthering a commitment of a relationship, whatever it may be. The message is loud and clear and you can hear it, Aquarius. So that is something I think that will be quite interesting for you. Plus, with the Mercury-Pluto conjunction, it's going to start to abate a bit. And I think, I sort of touched on that a little bit too with Mercury being in Aquarius, but the intensity, as it sort of starts to die down, you're still sort of left with, oh, right, okay, this is the new view. This is the new perspective that I have about my body, about my life path, about my identity, about how I approach new situations. I actually can see this as many Aquarians evolving when it comes to how they present themselves in front of new people. I'll just give you an example, right? I may not have an Aquarius rising, okay? I have my sun in Aquarius. And yes, I am an astrologer who I read for the rising sun and moon. There are different reasons to why I do that, which I'm not going to get into right now. Okay. I'm not going to get into it. But with me having my sun in Aquarius, and of course my Virgo rising can certainly add to this, very much so. But I can be quite awkward around new people. I'm very observant. I can be quite shy. I can be quite shy. And I can also be rather nervous around new people and even anxious. I think that nervousness, that anxiousness is especially shown through the Virgo rising. But anyway, I digress. Point being, maybe for Aquarius energy, this new moon, this Pluto energy in Aquarius is going to be really quite profound in terms of, okay, why is it that I'm feeling shy? Or why is it that I'm feeling nervous? Now, I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong here. It's not about being right or wrong. It's not about judging oneself. But if you do sort of do some soul searching and you're like, why am I acting awkward in this new situation? Like, what is it? Just a little bit of introspection. That's all I'm trying to get at here, which I think Pluto through Aquarius is going to bring these themes up for Aquarians. It's like that introspection, that deeper look into the psyche, the kind of, what's coming through? Why am I acting like this? Why am I approaching this situation in this way? So that's what I'm trying to get at. Now, at the same time, there are the squares to both Jupiter and Uranus in the 4th house. So these squares, yes, it can indicate some sort of conflict and discord, especially I think when it comes to family and security and how you feel settled, within yourself. maybe this is even adding towards some uncomfortable emotions that many Aquarians are going to process during this new moon, around this new moon, how things are disrupted on a more emotional level. But it's also about how you face those challenges. It's also about kind of seeing, okay, what's the new way forward here? If it is that your nervous system is feeling a certain way, how can you maybe ground yourself a little bit? And if anything, I would suggest that Aquarians, especially around this new moon, you need to ground yourselves, because Mercury is making that square to Jupiter. And we talked about that earlier, with being overstimulated. Aquarius also, you can be the types of people who are so invested in, like, oh my gosh, this is happening in the world. Oh my gosh, but it's almost like it's also a beneficial thing, and it's also a big part of you. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong either. This part of you can be really very helpful, and you care about humanity, and you care about the worries and the woes of the world, this type of stuff. You want to see that change, right? But if you're doing that to such a point where it's like so negative, and it's just absolutely ruining your everyday life, it's ruining your relationships, it's ruining your work, all this type of stuff, maybe it's a little bit about, okay, put the phone down, step away from that information. And as I say, my son is in Aquarius, and I can be like this, and I've had to learn to kind of, nope, don't. And also reminding myself, a lot of the stuff may not be real. That's the other thing. There can be so much misinformation. And if it's misinformation, then why get upset? Anyway, it's not black and white. I know. But the point is Aquarius, look after your mental well-being. Now, the beneficial thing about this new moon is the grand Earth trine within the 12th, the 4th, and the 8th. I think, you know what, Aquarius, this can be quite grounding, supportive, holding energy with respect to relaxation, spirituality. I think many Aquarians, what has been happening for many Aquarians, even over the past 16 years with Pluto transiting that 12th house for you, is like many Aquarians going through spiritual awakenings, many Aquarians rediscovering themselves through something spiritual, or looking at taking a deeper look at their psyche. And I've talked about this before, the whole psychological element to this. So I think over the past few weeks, there has been a great sense of like calm trying to come through, trying to remind you that, you know what, Aquarius, you can relax. You can relax. Try and not panic. You're held. Okay, so we're going to move on to Pisces. Lastly, let's see. Thank you very much, Bruno. And also, can I just say, let's be nice to each other in the chat. Let's try and be nice to each other, Let's try and get along, please. Right, so let's see. We're moving on to Pisces. Yes, and so okay, so Eddie, you have an Aquarius rising. Right, so lastly, I hope you find that to be helpful then, Eddie. Okay, so lastly, we're moving on to Pisces. So Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. Okay, it's something that I've talked about before. I've talked about this in previous videos. It's to do with how Pisces, you really are going through this like cocoon era over the next 20 years. It's huge. It's really quite huge for Pisces. Because this is truly like a good period to go within. This is retreating energy. This is seclusion energy. This is taking yourself away from the hustle and bustle and grind of life. Yes, okay, it's also about seeing how you can function within the world, be a part of reality, be a part of this life, but also not becoming super sort of attached to it, and seeing where you can detach a little bit, how you can separate yourself. The interesting thing about Pisces is that there is, Pisces is the two fish, right? And the two fish are swimming in two completely opposite directions, but they're bounded by this cord, okay? And the whole mythology behind this, you have to watch the Pisces mythology video, but it was about those two fish and how they were bounded or they were attached by that cord so they wouldn't lose each other, which is quite beautiful if you think about it. Pisces is so much tied to like divine love and unity and everything. But the point being, Pisces, as one fish, sort of swims to the light, the other swims to the dark. But the cord in the middle very much shows that yin yang energy, that connection, that two sides of the same coin. And there's a part of you that can function within everyday life, within society, but there's another part of you that very much needs to get away from that. And you need like good rest, you need to clear your space, you need to like purify. I know of many Pisces who are always purifying their space, they're cleansing their space. They're using all of the sort of spiritual practices to do that. I notice how Pisces love to do, many Pisces love to do yoga. Many Pisces love to meditate. Many Pisces love to pray as well, right? And so I think the moon in Aquarius is so much about the intentions that you're going to set to do with this stuff. Let's think about it, Pisces, right? Let's have a good think about this, because if we were to imagine how the world is going to start to sort of accelerate with Pluto in Aquarius, right? So we're going to see all of these sort of technological shifts and these technological changes and the protests and the strikes and things becoming really very intense when it comes to humanity, right? We're going to see these themes. You being the sign that feels it all, you being the sign that like empathizes, you can empathize with pretty much anybody. And because you're so connected into those sort of emotional currents, those emotional waves of humanity, then that can be really very stressful for you if there's no awareness around it. If you're so merged, you're merging with it all, and there's no room for the release. So this Aquarius energy in the 12th says, yes, this is actually an opportunity for you to let go, for you to release, for you to rest, unwind, detach, disconnect from it. Know whenever it is that you're becoming so emotionally involved and emotionally invested. And the good thing about this, I want to say, is Saturn is in your sign right now. And I think Saturn in your sign has actually been very, very anchoring for many Pisces. Because you see, Neptune there being in your sign since 2011? That I think has highlighted, yes, many like imaginative abilities and spiritual quests and looking more at the esoteric world and also thinking about being in a world of fantasy and escapism and all the rest of it. But what it's also possibly ushered in is like more of this unawareness surrounding getting lost in it all, right? Being so flowing where it's like, it's hard to really feel grounded. So what's Saturn done? Saturn said, okay, let's set things in place here. Let's ground things. Let's help Pisces center. So that's just something I wanted to add into this. And I felt like I was called to do that. So anyway, with the new moon in Aquarius, this is you in this sort of cocoon again, this cocoon, if you will. And over the next few weeks, it's going to be your season in the next few weeks. And you're also going to have the Saturn, Sun, Mercury conjunction in your first house. And that is going to be quite big, which we'll talk more about in its own video. But basically, this is your cocoon stage, right? This is your preparation stage. This is your relaxation, going within, time behind the scenes, time to get right with yourself, time to get right with God, time to pray and to contemplate all this stuff. So we're setting new intentions when it comes to these areas. And with Mercury and the Sun starting to sort of abate that conjunction, around the time of the new moon, I think that you're going to be left with so much sort of spiritual wisdom. I mean, when Mercury enters Aquarius, this can be great for Pisces to really get a lot from the spiritual. Thinking about again the whole cosmic download stuff, but that I think is going to be shown up via music and art and film and photography. These types of things, poetry, right? The mythological world, symbolism. So all of this is to say, I think that this can be quite eye-opening for you in this way, quite profound. And social change is also going to be ushered in, of course, during the time of the new moon. And there's also going to be squares to the third house. So these squares can highlight and indicate conflict and discord. Well, to do with the ways in which you connect patterns and connect the dots. And maybe there is something meaningful in receiving. What I'm getting from this, it's like major receiving energy. It's like, okay, I really need to sort of sit back and process and allow things to sort of just flow through me and not rush and not force. Jupiter is your chart ruler, right? Jupiter is in Taurus, and Jupiter in Taurus since last year has been teaching you so much about being patient in this way, being able to slow down your thoughts, to control them in a nice, pleasant way where there's a sort of melody to things. It's like da-dun, 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 da-dun. There's a pattern. Oh, there's a frequency to this. Oh, it's like, let's just try and go along with this melody and not rush it, not try to get to the end of the song. Let's try and appreciate. Let's try and see the beauty that exists here. So there's beautiful sort of tones coming up, I think, for many Pisces. And of course, with the exploring alternative stuff to do with Uranus, again, you're a mutable sign, and I don't have to tell you about exploring alternatives, but I think that this is still looking at how you have been seeing through things in a different view. You have something quite unique to share right now, Pisces, and you have had since 2018. I mean, you usually do. But especially with Uranus transiting your third house, you have something unique to do with a creative thought, to do with a creative message, how you can educate others in a creative way. You have something unique about you. And so I think that with the squares, it is sort of highlighting, okay, some disruption, some chaos. But then it's also about, again, something new being ushered in, a fresh perspective. Plus, what I also want to mention is that Uranus is making a trine to the 11th, and then there's the 7th house being activated. So with the Earth grand trine, oh, what do we see here? Talents and gifts and enhancement to do with relationships and socializing and communities and teamwork and, right, networking and the people that you're connected with, but doing so in this more somewhat business-like way, or in a way where it's more about, oh, I can see, how do I seek to build for the future? How can we sort of collaborate and come together in a way where you're getting a little bit of something, I'm getting a little bit of something, but we're gonna see how we can come together in a pretty mature, responsible way here. Okay, everybody. That is us. That is everything. We got through everybody. That's all of your horoscopes. I'm going to add the timestamps below as soon as I'm finished. Thank you so much for being here. Hello, creator. Hi. Brianna, you're away. No problem, Brianna. I will speak to you soon. Have a lovely week. I hope you're doing okay. And yes, as I say, we want to keep it want to keep it nice in the chats. And also in terms of donations and money, I never ask, there's absolutely no pressure to, send money and stuff like that. Okay. I'm just saying there's no pressure to do stuff like that. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. And King's Wellness Ranch, you say you just found my channel. Oh, awesome. Hello, welcome to you. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Well, I hope that you find this video to be helpful. And also, I want to say that if you're interested in becoming a patron over at Patreon, you can do so. The link is down below. There's actually a Valentine's Day tarot card special available, and the daily forecasts are there. I've got all of the daily forecasts up for the week because I'm having a short break this week. It's going to be my birthday this week, so a short break, which I'm looking forward to. But all of the daily forecasts are up there, so you can find them. And there's a lot of guides. There are guides for all of the signs. There's going to be a new series starting next week, which I'm so excited for. And you'll be able to find out more information about that series over at Patreon. But anyway, that is me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. You can, of course, book a reading with me by going to hannahselsewhere.com. And also, if you did enjoy this session, you can always buy me a coffee. There's no pressure. There's no pressure. These things are here if you want to. That if it's all good, it's very much appreciated. But again, there's no pressure. I just appreciate the fact that you are here, and thank you for watching. I value the fact that you are watching along, and if anything, I hope that you find your readings to be helpful. Okay? When will I be back? So there's going to be, I'm actually excited, going to be going live with Jasmina and Fernanda on Sunday. We're going to be talking about romance and dating in astrology, so stay tuned for that. And then there's also going to be the Aquarius archetype video, which is going to be next week. So like the week after, not this week, but the week after, basically. Yeah. So the Aquarius archetype is going to be explored. So that's going to be the next time you're going to see me. But stay tuned for that, for the times. You will see it posted. Anyway, that's me again. Have a lovely Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and have a great week. Bye, everyone.